It was a quiet night at the gym, and Ethan was in his workout mode, with the rain pouring heavily outside. He had his music playing through earphones, drowning out everything apart from the rhythmic thumping of his own heart. His usual setup was in the corner of the gym. Nothing more than a weight bench and a few weights in front of a mirror. As he went through his sets, completely focused, his mind was clear of everything except the burn in his muscles and the determination to get stronger. After completing a particularly intense set of reps, Ethan took a moment to catch his breath. His chest rose and fell rapidly, his skin slick with a sheen of perspiration. He leaned back on the bench, the cool surface of the leather soothing against his overheated skin, and closed his eyes for a few seconds. The rain outside seemed to grow even louder, a soothing white noise against the pounding of his heartbeat. Ethan's gaze flicked around the gym, taking in the other people working out. He noticed a couple of guys doing deadlifts, a few girls on the treadmills, and some folks just sitting around resting. But amidst the crowd, his attention suddenly caught sight of you. His gaze froze, his eyes locked on you even as his mind tried to process the sight. Something about you immediately piqued his interest, a jolt of something unfamiliar running through his chest. Ethan leaned forward, pausing his headphones mid-song as his eyes stayed glued to you. His fingers fumbled slightly with the frame of his glasses, pushing them down just enough for a clearer view, like he couldn't quite believe what, or who, he was seeing. "Who is that?" The words slipped out before he could stop them, barely audible over the hum of gym equipment and rain against windows. His chest tightened in an odd mix of nerves and intrigue, because suddenly, that quiet Saturday night workout didn't feel so quiet anymore. Ethan let out a sharp exhale through his nose, forcing himself to look away. He grabbed the dumbbell beside him with more aggression than necessary, muscles flexing as he resumed his set. Too fast, too heavy. But 3 reps in, his eyes flickered back toward you, like a magnet dragging them there against his will. The weights clinked louder than intended when he abruptly dropped them mid-rep again, shoulders tense under the weight of something far heavier than iron. He clicked his tongue at himself, but didn't bother hiding it this time, just stared openly now like some kind of challenge to whatever was pulling him apart from inside out over one damn glance across the gym floor. Ethan's tongue pressed against the metal of his lip ring, rolling it nervously between his teeth as he drummed one hand on the bench. His rings clinked together restlessly, click, 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 while he weighed the pros and cons in real time. One second he was tilting his head like a curious dog. The next, he'd scoffed at himself and looked down at his hands like they'd personally offended him. "No way," he muttered under his breath, before immediately contradicting himself by half standing off the bench, only to freeze mid-motion when your shadow shifted near where you were working out. The internal battle played out in real time. Go talk to them. Hell no. But then why did standing back up feel so damn hard all of a sudden? Ethan finally pushed himself off the bench with a grumble, shoving his hands into his pockets as he stalked toward the vending machine. Purely for snacks, obviously. His stomach chose that exact moment to growl traitorously loud. He lingered there, shoulders hunched like a kid pretending not to eavesdrop on Christmas morning. His eyes kept darting sideways toward you between fake deep studies of protein bar options. Chocolate or peanut butter? As if anyone could focus on anything when your presence was this distracting. Then came the inevitable internal screech. This is pathetic. Yet here he stayed, fingers tapping impatiently against glass while rain still hammered outside like nature itself was laughing at him. Ethan's eyes flicked over the vending machine snacks like he was seriously considering his protein bar options. Before his stomach grumbled, he couldn't help but scoff softly. Of all the times for his body to betray him, His fingers tapped an impatient rhythm against the glass as his mind waged a fierce war with itself. Talk to them, you idiot. You're already making a fool of yourself. He groaned under his breath and shifted his weight back and forth, his eyes still stealing glances toward you from the edge of his glasses. This was ridiculous. Ethan let out another heavy sigh, his breath fogging up the vending machine glass as he dug into his pocket. His fingers closed around a few crumpled bills, way too much for just one protein bar, but right now, he'd take any excuse to linger. He punched in the code with more force than necessary, watching as the mechanism whirred and spat out 2 bars instead of 1. Perfect, he muttered dryly under his breath. Ethan's smirk twitched at the corner of his lips as he glanced down at the 2 protein bars in his hands. Too convenient. He took a slow step toward you, feigning nonchalance even as his pulse spiked. Nice. 1 for me, he said casually, holding up 1 bar before pausing just long enough to make it obvious. 1 for you. His voice dropped into something lower, almost teasing. As he turned fully in your direction now, shoulders relaxed but eyes sharp with mischief. The rain outside was practically screaming, "Just talk to them already." As Ethan slowly neared, he whispered curses under his breath like a mantra. Stupid, stupid. Each step was like a reluctant march toward possible humiliation. His eyes darted around, scanning the area for any witnesses to his impending mistake. His mind played a constant loop of worst-case scenarios. She'll think you're a creep. She'll call someone. She'll throw the bar at your head. But even as his common sense screamed at him to turn around, there was something magnetic about her presence that kept his feet moving forward. Taking a deep breath, Ethan steeled his nerves. The anxiety that had coiled in his chest loosened just enough for him to actually speak. "Hey," he managed without his voice cracking, which given his current state he was pretty damn proud of. His grip on the protein bars tightened just slightly as he watched you from behind his glasses, waiting for your reaction. His heart was still racing, but now for different reasons. Ethan's heart skipped a beat when you looked up to meet his gaze. He'd half expected you to ignore him entirely, or worse, but there you were, staring back at him with those damn eyes of yours. His tongue darted out to wet his suddenly dry lips, and he cleared his throat awkwardly. "Hey, He took another breath before holding up one of the bars. "Want a protein bar?" His voice was gruff, but somehow also sounded slightly more nervous than he'd intended. Ethan's jaw tightened for a split second, dismissed, but he recovered fast, masking the sting with a lazy smirk. "Suit yourself." Ethan's smirk faltered as he chewed on the protein bar, thrown off balance by your sharp comment. "Remember you?" he repeated with a baffled scoff. He racked his brain, but no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't place your face. He shrugged after a moment, still chewing. "Should I?" he asked, eyebrow raised in a challenge. Ethan froze mid-chew, his eyes widening slightly as the memory slammed into him like a dumbbell to the face. His throat tightened around the protein bar. Oh shit. He swallowed hard, suddenly feeling every ounce of that old guilt pressed down on him. Wait. He took an involuntary step back, grip tightening on his own wrist like he was physically restraining himself from bolting right then and there. His voice came out quieter than before when he finally spoke again. "That was you?" The teasing edge was completely gone now. All that remained was sheer awkward horror at having just walked up to someone with that history between them. Ethan's face twisted in a grimace, guilt etched into every line. He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding your eyes as he searched for the right words. "Look, he started, and then stopped. What the hell could he even say to make this any better? He finally forced himself to look at you, swallowing his pride like a bitter pill before he managed to mutter, "I'm sorry." It was far from enough, but it was all he had to offer you after everything. He repeated quietly, eyes on the ground now as he fidgeted with the wrapper from his protein bar. It crinkled in his fingers, but he couldn't meet your gaze. I hate that I ever bullied you back then. We were kids, and I was... Ethan cut off with a sharp exhale, shaking his head in disbelief at himself. He took a shaky breath and forced himself to look at you again. The guilt was written all over his face now. No more cocky smirks or sarcastic comments to hide behind. Ethan flinched like you just slapped him. His hands curled into fists at his sides, knuckles whitening for a second before he forced them to relax. "I know," he said hoarsely, voice rougher than usual. He dragged a hand down his face, half frustration, half shame, before finally meeting your eyes again with something painfully honest in them. "There's no excuse for that shit, ever." The gym noise faded into background static as Ethan stood there waiting for you to walk away or call security or anything, because after everything, he deserved it. Ethan's eyes widened at your unexpected words. Of all the responses he'd expected, sympathy wasn't one of them. He ran a hand through his hair out of sheer relief this time. "Jesus, you had worse bullies in high school?" He couldn't help but ask. The idea was so mind-boggling that even the guilt had to take a back seat. Ethan's gaze flickered over you, really looked this time, and something in his expression shifted. His jaw tightened slightly, eyes lingering a beat too long before he forced himself to meet your face again. "You were never fat," he muttered under his breath, like the words slipped out against his will. Then louder, "Those high school assholes don't know shit." His voice dropped lower as he glanced away, clearly wrestling with whatever thought was making him scowl at nothing in particular. Until suddenly, "They still around? I could go say hi." He was this close to offering violence. Ethan's expression twisted, part disbelief, part something dangerously close to regret. "You joined the gym because of them?" He let out a sharp breath through his nose, fingers tapping an agitated rhythm against his thigh. His eyes flicked over you again, this time with blatant frustration at how obviously fit you were now. His fault. His guilt spiked higher, before he ground out, "They're idiots." A pause, then quieter, "And so was I." The admission hung between you like a live wire before he abruptly shoved both hands in his pockets and rocked back on his heels, waiting for your reaction like it might actually kill him this time. Ethan's gaze darted back up, a flash of surprise at how casually you moved on before he managed a stiff nod. Yeah." He cleared his throat and shifted his weight restlessly, hands still shoved in his pockets. "I'm a personal trainer now." His eyes flicked over you again without meaning to. It was a bad habit by now, like he was seeing ghosts from the past that wouldn't let him look away. His brow furrowed at the sight, so different, so familiar, before he forced his attention back to your face. The words caught him completely off guard. "Wait," he blurted out, eyes still locked on you in disbelief. "Did you just... Was he hearing you right?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, clearly trying to process it. His head was spinning, guilt and something almost like hope crashing together in a confusing mess of contradictions. He managed a cautious, "You want me to train you?" The words caught him completely off guard. "Wait," he blurted out, eyes still locked on you in disbelief. "Did you just... Was he hearing you right?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, clearly trying to process it. His head was spinning, guilt and something almost like hope crashing together in a confusing mess of contradictions. He managed a cautious, "You want me to train you?" Ethan's heart was suddenly in his throat. He'd been bracing for any reaction but that. But there you were, asking him to be your trainer. It was too much, especially given your history. He swallowed hard and managed a jerky nod. "No, not a problem." His voice was gruff and thick with 100 different emotions he could barely sort out. He tried for a half shrug, but it morphed into a nervous gesture somewhere along the way. When do you want to start? Tomorrow? Ethan repeated, eyes going wide as he suddenly realized what he'd agreed to. He tried to keep his nerves from showing, but it was obvious in the way his voice went an octave higher. He watched you as you stood up, still trying to process that he was going to be training you. God, you, as of tomorrow. His heart hammered in his chest and he ran a hand through his hair, fingers gripping the strands just a bit too tight. He managed a gruff, "See you," before finally remembering to breathe again. What the hell just happened? She wants me to be her trainer. I have to prove I'm not that damn bully anymore. I need to win her back.